Back with the last video, going back to my original content, the New World Order, chapter 26, the Humanists. This is the book that we are reading, and we actually almost done. We're on page 196. Then I got my next book I'm going to start. These are books I always wanted to read that I got in my library. I've been studying this for almost 40 years. So let's get into it. The Humanists. There is a religion in America today that embodies many of the beliefs of the Masons, the New Age movement, and the communists. It is called the humanist religion. And right now, we're actually living this out because we see the robots. We're in the robot age. Transhumanism, half human, half robot. And this is what we're seeing. We here in this humanist age right now. It is called the humanist religion. This religion even has a dictionary definition. Humanism, a modern, non theistic, rationalist movement that holds that man is capable of self fulfillment, ethical conduct without resource to supernaturalism. Some call this religion um, secular humanist, and the word secular is defined as of relating to worldly things as distinguished from things relating to church and religion. The word is connected to the Latin word seculatorius, meaning worldly. The English word secular is connected to the translation of the Latin phrase found on the back of the dollar bill. Facts, because if you look at the back of your dollar bill, you see the pyramid with the all seeing eye. You see the Roman numerals that's actually, they say, was the Declaration of Independence 1776, but that's May 1st, actually, 1776, with Adam West help formed, brought the Illuminati over here into the Americas. Then you had Nuba Scholem on there, which means New World Order. And you have this word. So let's get into it. Oh, I just told you. Some powerful, some powerful people have identified themselves with this religion. One of these, former Vice President Walter Mondale, later an unsuccessful candidate for the presidency in 1984 as a Democrat. He made his support known during a speech to the Fifth Congress of International Humanist and Ethical Union held at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in August of 1970. Mr. Mondale said, "Although I have never formally joined a humanist society, I think I am a member by inheritance. My preacher father was a humanist, and I grew up on a very rich diet of humanism from him. All of our family has been deeply influenced by the tradition, including my brother Lester." The former vice president had been so moved by the religious views that he has been a contributor to a magazine called The Humanist. Hey, Jimmy Carter, then the President of the United States, sent the American Humanist Association a telegram April of 1978 in which he praised them for their activities. Those who participate in the annual meeting of the American Humanist Association are furthering a movement that greatly enhances our way of life. The work of our organization in this area is therefore especially gratifying to me, and I welcome this opportunity to applaud your important accomplishments. The humanists have issued two manifestos in which they stand their religious beliefs in. The first was issued in 1933. Wow, that's when Roosevelt took us off the gold standard and added on what we just talked about on the dollar bill. He was a 33rd degree Mason, Roosevelt was. And any student can determine just what these positions are. The introduction to that document reads in part as follows. The time has come for widespread recognition of the radical beliefs throughout the modern world. The time is past for mere revision of traditional attitudes. Science, meaning evolution, and economic change, meaning communism, have disrupted the old beliefs. Religions the world over are under the necessary of coming to terms with new conditions created by a widely, excuse me, a vastly increased knowledge and experience in every field of human activity. The vital movement is now in the direction of candid, explicit humanism. In order for the religious humanists may be better understood, we, the undersigned, desire to make certain affirmations which we believe the facts of our contemporary life demonstrate. There is a great danger of the final, and we believe fatal, identification of the world religion with doctrines and methods that have lost their significance and which are powerless to solve the problems of human living in the 20th century. While this age does owe a vast debt to the traditional religion, it is nonetheless obvious that any religion that can hope to be synthesizing and dynamic force for today must be shaped for the needs of this age. To establish such a religion is a major necessity of the present. It is the responsibility which rests upon this generation. What was just expressed in those paragraphs introduction is summarized here. Science and economic changes have shown the world that religion no longer has the answers to man's problems. Humanism has the new answers. We can thank religion for what it has done in the past, but it's time to move on to the new beliefs. And humanism is the new religion that can replace the old. The Humanist Manifesto contains 15 planks of their beliefs. First, religious humanists regard the universe as self existing and not created. Wow, that surely ain't in the Bible, right? Since the universe has always been and was not created, there is no reason to believe in a creator. So the humanist religion is an atheist one, believing that there is no God. Well, then, if we created, so man just created himself, I guess, huh? So that must be man just created himself if the world just created itself. That don't make. Hmm. The biblical view is that man and animals were all created within a period of 6 days. That's true. The human the humanists believe that evolution is a more satisfactory explanation of the origins of both the universe and a man. I know doggone well my ancestors ain't come from no ape. That's a lie. The humanists have stated that evolution is part of their religious view of man. Second, man has emerged as a result of continuous process. That don't make no sense. So man just came and formed. Wow. Fifth, the nature of the universe makes unacceptable any supernatural or cosmic guarantees of human value. There is no prayer answering God in the universe, and there are no God created moral absolutes. Six, we are convinced that time has passed for, for theism, a belief in one God. Deism is a belief in the existence of God or purely rational grounds without reliance on revelation or authority. Wow. Once again, the humanists profess their belief that God does not exist. Obviously, modern man is too sophisticated to believe in a God whose existence cannot be proven. 14. The humanists are firmly convinced that existing acquisitive and profit motivated society has shown itself to be inadequate and that a radical change in methods, controls, and motives must be instituted. A socialized and cooperative economic order must be established to the end that the equitable distribution of the means of life be possible. It will be remembered that Karl Marx, the so called father of communism, supported the concept of socialism and cooperative economic order. He stated, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. And he added the additional comment, in one word, you reproach us with attending to do away with your property precisely so that it's just what we intend to get rid of your property. That's why Agenda 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. Why you think they setting all these fires? Ain't nobody gonna be living off the water. Nobody. This is what the humanists believe. The humanists, just like Karl Marx, do not approve of the economic system that encourages the right to own private property. They believe in the economic system known as socialism. The beliefs of humanists can be summarized by stating that the religion stands on the stool with three major legs: evolution, atheism, and communism. There should be no doubt as to what they believe in. Any student can read it in the two manifestos. The 1933 edition of Humanist Manifestos was signed by 34 men. Wow! Only two have any bearing on the study. One Professor John Dewey of Columbia University. They always been liberal like this. No wonder. No wonder they let the people protest and do all that. Wow. Columb makes sense. The father of the so-called progressive education. This makes so much sense with what Columbia let happen on their campus. And the other one was Lester Mondale, the brother of Vice President. Professor Dewey's religious views on life had had a dramatic effect on the education in America. In 1974, Saturday Review magazine published their golden anniversary issue, and as part of their um, commemoration of these 50 years, they asked various American leaders the most influ- influential figure in their respective fields of endeavor. The individual that was named as most influential figure in American education was John Dewey from 1924 to 74. Wow. One dean of major university in California was quoted as saying, it has to be Dewey. I'll allege that he is the only great educator in our history. Author educator said that Dewey towers above everyone else, and another educator said no individual has influenced the thinking of American education more. John Dewey was a socialist, communist, and atheist and believed in the fraud known as evolution. He believed that there were no moral absolutes and the man should develop their own set of moral values. He believed that Christianity was powerless to solve man's problems. Yet, this is the individual who has influenced the thinking of American educators the most. Wow, it makes so much sense. To further illustrate the convoluted thinking of this man, one only needs to examine a quote he said. There is no God and there is no soul. There are no needs for people or traditional religion. With the dogma and creed excluded, these immutable truth is also dead and buried. There is no room for fixed natural law or permanent moral absolutes. Wow. These opinions are absolutely incredible and reveal just how shallow and confused Professor Dewey's thoughts were. Wow. He claimed that when religion was removed from the environment, immutable truth would be dead and buried. This is impossible. The word immutable is defined as being unchangeable. The professor was admitting that truth was immutable. He was saying that unchangeable truth could be changed. That which is unchangeable cannot be changed, but its own definition. Yet Professor Dewey said it could be. He also said that there was no room permanent moral absolute. Wow, that which is permanent cannot be done away with. It can only be ignored. But if they are permanent, they will still remain. Professor Dewey believed that there which is unchangeable can be changed. He believed that that which is permanent can be done away with. Professor Dewey was out of touch with reality, as most of there are, like Trump said, raging lunatics. And that's for real. That is for real. Yet, Professor Dewey has influenced the thinking of American educators more than any other educator, and his religious beliefs are becoming the official religion of America. In 1973, the fourth anniversary of the issuance of the first manifesto, the Humanists issued the second manifesto. As in 1933, humanists still believe that traditional theism, especially faith to the prayer hearing God, assumed to love and care for persons, to hear and understand prayers, and to be able to do something about them, is an unproved and outmoded faith. No deity will save us, we must save ourselves. Once again, the humanists stated their belief that God does not exist. Since there is no God, man is on his own. Since man is on his own, man needs to create his own religion, and humanists have done just that. The second principle of humanism, promises of immortal salvation or fear of eternal damnation, are both illusionary and harmful. Rather, science affirms that the human species is an emergence from natural evolutionary forms. That's a lie. Here, the humanists restate that their conviction that man is nothing more than a highly evolved animal. It is a fact of modern reality that the position is no longer the sole theory of origins being offered to the world by the scientific community. The theory of evolution is currently being challenged by what is known as creation science. The approach is rapidly proving using scientific data that evolution is a fraud and a hoax. Scientists of the world we know are deserving their long held evolutionary beliefs after being exposed to their competing theory. The scientist who has integrity to compare the two theories side by side is uncovering that evolution is not scientific. Debates between the evolutionists and the creationists on college campuses all over the world are being won by creationalists. As a result, science is slowly returning to the position. held by the scientific world before Charles Darwin revolutionized it. Mm. The third principle, ethics is autonomous. Ethics is autonomous and situational, needing no theological or ideological sanction. To deny this distorts the whole basis of life. There is no God. Therefore, there are no God given moral absolutes. The words of these absolutes, such as thou shalt not, have no relevance to today's society, and because this is true, man does not have to obey those teachings. Wow. He is therefore free to decide these matters for himself. It follows, therefore, that religion will shortly pass away. All that needs to be done is for it to be officially buried by humanists, New Agers, Masons, and communists. That's why Trump has had prayer out in the open. He brought back God, protections of Christians, and most of the people that he dealing with is Satanists. Wow, that makes perfect sense. This new moral philosophy has an official name, situational ethics, and will be examined more in detail in a subsequent chapter. The fourth principle. Dang, this is one of the longest chapters. Most of these chapters are short. Oh my God. Mm, I'm going to bed after this. Reason and intelligence are the most effective instruments that humankind possess. There is no substitute. Neither faith nor passion suffices in itself. Here, the humanists side with Masons who have defined reason. The sixth principle, in the areas of sexuality, we believe that intolerant attitudes, often cultivated by Orthodox religion and cultures, unduly repress sexual conduct. The right to birth control, abortion, and divorce should be recognized. It makes sense now, don't it? Wow. According to this principle, religions in America have been unduly repressive in these teachings about mankind's sexuality. They have taught the world that abortion is murder, believing abortion is violation of moral absolute thou shalt not kill. The humanists believe that the birth control must be available and abortion on demand permitted. Everything against God, the Democrats. Wow. The fifth principle, we must extend partitionary democracy in, in its true sense to the economy, the school, the family, the workplace, and voluntary associations. The Christian and Jewish religions for centuries have taught that husband is the head of the household, but the humanists would change that by allowing the entire family to decide the direction that the family is going to take. If the family is having difficulty in making a decision, such as whether to take a vacation to the mountains, blah, 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 each person can have one vote. And if there are three children, then the choice to the seashore or majority rules. The two parents and the family will visit the seashore. Mm, mm, mm. It is almost inconceivable that the rational mind could conceive of such a program for a family union, but that is what the humanist agenda is. Not only must the family experience the joys of partitionary democracy, so must the workplace. Imagine the experience of having a workforce of 5,000 deciding how much production will be that day and what price they will be offered and whom they will be sold. This is what humanist does. And the humanists want the students to have a say as to what will be taught that day in school, allowing 5-year-olds to determine the subjects to be discussed. Wow, this is insane. The 11th principle, we believe in the right to universal education. Karl Marx, who declared himself a humanist in the Communist Manifesto, wrote, free education for all children in public schools so they can indoctrinate your kids. The education of the children used to be direct responsibility of the family. Parents were originally the teachers of the nation's children and later were thought able to pay for the educational needs of their own children since this notion went to a system of public education. But here, the humanists side with the communists who believe that education should be the concern of the entire society. In other words, those couples who have either decided against having children of their own or elderly parents who have already raised their children were to be made to support the educational costs of the parents who produce children. That concept that parents without children should pay for the education of parents. Man, listen. The 12th principle. We deplore the division of humankind on nationalistic grounds. The best option is to transcend the limits of national sovereignty and more toward the building of a world community. There go your open borders right there. We thus reaffirm a commitment to the building of world community. Damn. The world government is coming, and the humanists are proud to announce their support for it. The 14th principle, excessive population growth must be checked by international concord. Depopulation, here we go. The thought that some held the position that there was a population explosion was discussed in my book, The Unseen Hand. I got that book. Oh my God, that book was so good. The idea that the world is exploding because there are simply too many people on Earth is a fraud, and it surely is. But the humanists believe it. In fact, that belief is a lie, is a part of their official belief structure. And not only do they acknowledge the non existent problem, they wish to involve government in solving it. Governments deciding to control populations is the thing that makes dictators exceedingly happy. Wow, this is written in the 80s. So the population explosion was not an explosion at all, but was being offered for other purposes. Those who were frightening the population, the world into being that government had to intercede to control a non-existent problem had a hidden agenda. The operative word is the word control and would have gladdened the heart of the dictator. So the youth So the humanists have linked themselves with others who look to man's reason as the solution to all of its problems caused in their way of thinking by the religions of the world. The second manifesto was signed by 102 individuals. Isaac Asaphar, author. I'm gonna have to start looking these people up. Alan Gooshmaker, Planned Parenthood. Here we go. Lester Mondale, brother of former VP. Andrew Scarval, Academy of Sciences, Russia, Moscow. Joseph Fletcher, visiting professor, School of Medicine, University of Virginia. Each year, the humanists honor the humanist of the year with an award with those honors in the past. Oh, I gotta look up. 1969, Dr. Benjamin Spock. He came up with that book that everybody used, that got children using the bottle instead of breast milk. B.F. Skinner. Oh my God, he's psychoanalyst. Betty Friedan, Andrew Scarbo, Carl Sagan, astronomer. Isaac Asimov, John Galbraith, economist. Faith Wallington, president of Planned Parenthood. Wow! I'm ready to go to bed. Lord have mercy. But one of the most well-known humanists is Madeline O'Hare, the woman she the one that got prayer eliminated out of public education school. She ended up getting killed too. Miss O'Hare had been an interest in the religious views of humanism for many years. She was once the editor of the magazine entitled The Free Humanist, and she was a Satanist, atheist. Mm. And she was elected to the board of the American Humanist Association in 1965 and was elected in 1970 for a second 4-year term. In public statements, she had been quoted in saying that there's absolutely no conclusive evidence that Jesus ever lived and Christianity has never contributed anything in anybody, any place, at any time. She has called religion the mental excrement of primitive man and has said that. She sure did. And she died of a horrible death, baby. She was found in the back of a truck. I remember when she got killed. She has not confined her activity to just the prayers in school either. Her attack on Christianity has got involved in other issues. In December 1974, she supported the Landsman Milan petition to the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC. This this petition was applications for reserved educational FM and TV channels by any and all Christians, Bible religious, and other colleges and institutions. In 1977, she filed suit in federal court to remove the motto "In God We Trust" from all U.S. currency. Well, she must have lost that because it's still on there. She asked the court to declare the motto unconstitutional and then ordered the Secretary of Treasury to no longer place it on any American currency. In November 77, she involved herself in demand that the governor of Texas prohibit the display of the nativity scene in the state capitol during Christmas holidays. She also objected to a monument inscribed with the Ten Commandments on Capitol grounds. However, she went on to say she found no objection to the Christmas tree placed inside the Capitol building because that was a pagan thing, which has nothing to do with the religion. And this is why I don't celebrate these religions. Wow. Either that month she was arrested and charged with disrupting a public meeting for loudly protesting the opening of a city council meeting with prayer. The article that reported her activity quoted her as saying, "I'm going to try to have the mayor and the minister who leads the prayers arrested. They're interjecting religious activity into a governmental meeting." Oh, she wouldn't have been able to take Trump, child. Mm-mm, mm-mm. 2 years later, in 1979, the Supreme Court unanimously rejected her suit against the removal "In God We Trust" model from all American currency. The judge who ruled against her was quoted as saying, that has nothing whatsoever to do with the establishment of the religion. Its use is of a patriotic or ceremonial character and bears no true resemblance to a governmental sponsorship of a religious exercise. Moreover, it would be ludicrous to argue that the use of the national model fosters any excessive government entanglement with religion. Wow, I'm all done. This makes so much sense when you see the things that are happening in the world today. And this book was written in the wow, you can't make this wow. There was an interesting but not persuasive argument because the Constitution of the United States contains no such statement in the wording. Oh, I forgot. Those are the words of Thomas Jefferson and not of the Constitution. Lord, how many more pages we got? Oh, okay. The First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States reads Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The remainder of the amendment protects others' rights and does not concern itself with the right to religious freedom. Notice that Congress is prohibited from establishing a national religion. The 10th Amendment, the powers not delegated to the United States by Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So Congress has no authority to require anything to the belief in any particular religion. There is no reason why the national government may not print a motto such as "In God We Trust." Miss O'Hare's string of failures had affected her family as well. All of her activity for the cause of atheism has failed to induce one of her two sons to believe in the theory. Her son William Murray, the child she filed the suit to restrict prayer in public schools for, later became a Christian. I did not know that. Wow. He said in a letter in May 1980 that he publicly apologized to the American people because the part I played as a teenager in removing prayer from public schools was criminal. I removed from our future generation that short time each day which should rightfully be reserved for God, inasmuch as the suit to destroy the traditional prayer in school was brought in my name. I feel gravely responsible for the resulting destruction of the moral fiber of our youth that it has caused. Wow, I did not know. Wow. In June 88, he told us a little more what his mother believed in. He told the world, my mother was always a Marxist. She was the manager of the New Era bookstore in Baltimore, which was and today is the official Communist Party bookstore. We got many communists in the government right now. Mr. Murray further amplified that his thoughts about his mother in his book. He wrote about Niagara. He said, many people identified me as being the son of atheist leader Madeline O'Hare. Granted, she is my mother, but her identification as an atheist leader is not quite true. It was never her intent to be an atheist leader, but a Marxist leader. He reminisced about his childhood with his mother. I'm able to reflect upon the change in my own life. Mr. Murray, as mentioned previously, has since become a Christian from being raised in a home where there was hatred toward freedom, hatred toward free enterprise, and hatred toward God. Mm, mm, mm. And these people in government do not care about you. They don't want you to have no freedom, no nothing. Madeline Murray O'Hare said she invented a non-existent public interest group so it would not appear that she was fighting the battle alone. I lied like during the whole thing. The public wasn't willing to listen to just one single woman alone with two kids tugging at her. So what I did was invent the Maryland Committee for the separation of church and state, which really didn't exist. Wow! Others of national and international renown have embraced the humanist religion as well. Another who probably did was Karl Marx. He wrote, "Communism as a fully developed nationalism is humanism." In 1970, new program for the Communist Party stated, "Marxism is not only rational, it is humanist in the best, most profound meaning of the term." In 1965, the Supreme Court wrote, "A humanistic belief that is sincerely professed as a religion shall be entitled to recognition as religious under selective service law." The result of this decision is to exempt anyone from the draft who professes that his religion is called humanism. So the Supreme Court has correctly identified humanism as a religion. Even the humanists declare that their religion is a religion. The president wrote, "Humanism is a religion without a God, divine revelation, or sacred scriptures." And Sir Hustling, a signer of the Humanist Manifesto, he said, "I use the word humanist to mean someone who believes that man is just as much a natural phenomenon as an animal or plant, that his body, mind, and soul were not supernatural created but were products of evolution." This is such bullshit. And to show that the government of the United States has officially recognized the humanists as a religion, com- uh, the American Humanist Association has been granted a religious tax exemption. Communist evolution and atheism is being taught in schools of America. In 1987, some parents with young children in Alabama public school system found the teaching of the religion in a tax-supported schools to be objectionable. They filed suit to prevent their children from being taught a religious view in violation of their own. A federal judge ordered Alabama officials yesterday to remove 36 textbooks from public schools, saying they further a belief in humanism and denied the role of religion in the American society. Wow. In addition, Hand found that 31 history and social studies textbooks, also published by major houses, were not merely did not merely have history, but lacked so many facts as to equal ideological promotion. Because school now is basically indoctrination. The Alabama Civil Liberties Union was not pleased with their decision, right? Because we see now the ACLU is trying to give the rights of migrants who don't even have citizenship here. Don't get me started on that. The decision confirms our worst fears of federal censorship over local public schools matters, and severely threatens non-esoterical public education in Alabama and around the nation. This concern about federal censorship by the Alabama Civil Liberties Union is very puzzling. Their position that the removal of textbooks from public schools by a federal government constituted censorship revealed in a blatant hypocrisy, hypocrisy because in creationism science versus evolution, court was also in Alabama a few years earlier. The Civil Liberties Union, presumably the parent of the Alabama organization, took the opposite position. They argue that creationism science textbooks should be removed from the students in Alabama science classrooms. It was their position that the creationism science could not be taught side by side with the theory of evolution in science classes in the state. They argue that only evolution could be taught. Mm, mm, mm. In other words, they argue in favor of censorship of creatism, from the Bible textbooks from the classroom. This doesn't make sense unless they claim it to protect American civil liberties wanted only by the humanist religions taught in public schools. That conclusion fits the facts. If they were concerned about federal censorship of school matters, they should have been consistent. They should have allowed the state to utilize creatism science textbooks because they feared federal censorship, but they did. The civil libertarians are not consistent. Censorship is not called censorship if your side does the censoring, and the American Civil Liberties Union wants to be the censor. Man, that was the good night. I had to get some other content in here. Good night. Like, share, subscribe.